Grey Octopussy.
I noticed a bright light in the sky, and I thought I was discovering a new planet until it started to move. So we stopped the car and got out, and that's when it changed direction and started coming in towards us. Now that was in about the Lancaster area. And then it followed us for about 30 miles. Paced our car.
And all the while you and Barney were discussing it. What is this? What is that?
Yeah, see, Barney did in World War II. He knew planes, and he's trying to identify this. And it's flying in a very erratic manner, which was very puzzling to us. But this is 61. We had no idea what a flying saucer looked like, but we had no fear, just curiosity. We were trying to identify this craft. I'm trying to attract the attention of this craft. I'm telling it, come on in. Hi. I got the window down. I'm yelling to it. Hi. Who are you? And at that point, it left the top of the mountain, came out over the highway, and stopped in midair directly in front of us, maybe about 50 feet in the sky. So Barney got out with the binoculars in an attempt to identify the craft. And when he looked up, he saw a circular window with a bright light behind it, and he saw these men standing behind the window looking down at him. And at that point, the craft began to descend, and he became frightened. Ran back to the car saying he thought they were trying to capture him. So we got in the car and we went speeding down the highway to avoid capture. As we're driving along, there's beeping sounds. That sounds like something was hitting the trunk of the car, and the car vibrated. And then we drove along for about another 30 miles when Barney turned off onto a side road. And here were the group of men he'd seen on the craft standing in the middle of this road, blocking our way. And naturally, he had to stop the car. And they came up in two groups, took us out of the car, passed in the woods to where the craft was on the ground. All our communication was verbal.
Verbal?
Right.
Oh, interesting. Yep.
They spoke English in a limited way. A foreigner coming here and not too well acquainted with our language.
But
in the very first part, they had us under some kind of control. And I brought myself out of this, but Barney was only able to bring himself out, partly out of it. So I was just as conscious as I am right now. When we got up to the door, I was not going to go in. So I socked him.
You punched the entity?
Yeah. In fact, I put up such a battle that my dress is badly torn. And he said, come on. All we want to do is some simple tests. And as soon as the tests are over, we'll take you back to your car. Being.
They were a form of human being.
Right.
Did they have cat-like or Cheshire-like eyes?
They had larger eyes than ours, smaller nose, and smaller mouth. No protruding part of the ear and no hair.
So
but they're people.
Nothing like these classic greys you see near Whitley Street.
I don't know. I've never seen those. I don't know what they're talking about. Sure. We gave them different names to identify him. Now, I don't know if he was the leader or the interpreter. But we called him the leader. And then there was the one who did the testing. We called him the examiner. There were 9 others who stayed out in the corridor, and we called them the crew members.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Went in to a corridor. And then I was taken into a room, and I had to step up because the level of the floor was above the corridor. And it was an oval-shaped door like we would see on a ship. Yep. They wanted to find out how we were like them or different from them physically. And the wall, there were doors in the wall that would slide back and forth. And they put me on a stool, checked my eyes, ears, nose, throat, my feet, my hands. And then he put me on a table and said they were going to check my nervous system. The examiner is in doing Barney's exam. I started talking with the leader. I know you're not from this planet. Where are you from? And he showed me a star map. And he explained part of the map to me briefly. And then we just talked about food and different aspects of life here. You know,
And what? Give me some.
actually, what led to the food was the examiner came running back into the room where I was and started tugging at my teeth. And he wanted to know why Barney's teeth were removable and mine were not.
And the story is Barney had dentures.
Yeah, during World War II, Barney got too close to a hand grenade and knocked his teeth out. Sort of disappointed. I didn't know anything about the solar system. I think they really expected me to be able to identify the map. Dr. Benjamin Simon said that during the week, if I wanted to, I would be able to remember the star map, and I would sketch it. But I was not to think about it. I was just to let my hands go ahead and draw it, which I did. And that was in 1965.
4 years after the incident.
Now, in 1969, Marjorie Fish came here and stayed a few days and asked me all kinds of questions, hours and hours, which she taped, and then used that to go back home and
Took
did
your
the
map.
did the research on it, and identified the areas.
The area of the star map, which she said was in the constellation that we know, Reticulus, in the star system was Zeta
Reticuli, yep.
And
So I had a great time. He joked, we kidded,
really,
yep. I invited him to come back. Like I said, please, please, please come back. Oh, I had so many friends who would love to meet you. Well, I don't think we checked our watches until we're almost home to see what time it was, and both our watches had stopped functioning. Realized the trip had taken much longer than what it should have. 10 nights after this happened, I had a series of dreams for 5 nights. Each dream was different, which later I found out was a recall of what I talked with my supervisor about the meaning of dreams.
and
Then she said, well, maybe it happened. Heard about our experience, liked to meet us. They were scientists. They had an interest in UFOs.
So-
And so they came, and we had continuing contacts with them for years.
so
The
they
United States government. One time we even got together and camped out with 26 of the top scientists in this country, and Jacques Vallée was one of them.
wow. So there was no subversion or subterfuge going on with the government. They were straightforward out of curiosity, and then no one was mocking you or highly skeptical.
Oh, they were looking for information.
You know, and because this was a highly unique case.
The first thing they said to us, stay away from the UFO organizations.
And that's, I'd like to reemphasize that to anybody listening at home today.
Grey Octopussy.